Photo shoot.
Roger.
Fuck that bitch, try put the fee on it. That put the free on it. If it's about money, then we on it.
Hello everyone. Our topic is all about Tpack, Technological Pedagogical Content Knowledge. What is Tpack framework? Tpack is a framework that combines the teacher's three knowledge: technological knowledge, content knowledge, and pedagogical knowledge. This framework shows the interconnectedness of content knowledge with pedagogical knowledge and the integration of technology in making teaching more engaging, relevant, and effective. By differentiating among these three types of knowledge, the Tpack framework outlines how content, what is being taught, and pedagogy, how the teachers imparts that content, must form the foundation for any effective edtech integration. This order is important because the technology being implemented must communicate the content and support the pedagogy in order to enhance student learning experience. Content knowledge or CK. This describes teachers' own knowledge of the subject matter. CK may include knowledge of concepts, theories, evidence, and organizational frameworks within a particular subject matter. It may also include the field's best practices and established approaches to communicating this information to students. CK will also differ according to discipline and grade level. For example, middle school science and history class require less detail and scope than undergraduate or graduate courses. So, their various instructors, CK may differ, or the CK that each class imparts to its students will differ. Pedagogical knowledge or PK. This describes teachers' knowledge of the practices, processes, and methods regarding teaching and learning. As a generic form of knowledge, PK encompasses the purpose, values, and aims of education and may apply to more specific areas including the understanding of students, learning styles, classroom management skills, lesson planning, and assessments. Technological knowledge or TK. This describes teachers' knowledge of and ability to use various technologies, technological tools, and associated resources. TK concerns understanding edtech, considering its possibilities for a specific subject area or classroom, learning to recognize when it will assist or impede learning, and continually learning and adapting to new technology offerings. Pedagogical Content Knowledge or PCK. This describes teachers' knowledge regarding foundational areas of teaching and learning, including curricula development, student assessment, and reporting results. In all cases, though, PCK seeks to improve teaching practices by creating stronger connection between the content and the pedagogy used to communicate it. Technological Content Knowledge or TCK. This describes teachers' understanding of how technology and content can both influence and push against each other. TCK involves understanding how the subject matter can be communicated via different edtech offerings and considering which specific edtech tools might be best suited for specific subject matters or classroom. Technological Pedagogical Knowledge or TPK. This describes teachers' understanding of how particular technologies can change both the teaching and learning experiences by introducing new pedagogical affordances and constraints. Another aspect of TPK concerns understanding how such tools can be deployed alongside pedagogy in ways that are appropriate to discipline and how development of the lesson at hand. The Tpack framework is useful for the ways in which it explicates the types of knowledge most needed in order to make technology integration successful in the classroom. Teachers need not even be familiar with the entire Tpack framework as such in order to benefit from it. They simply need to understand that instructional practices are best shaped by content-driven, pedagogically sound, and technologically forward-thinking knowledge. Technology has become an increasingly important part of students' life beyond school, and even within the classroom, it can also help increase their understanding of complex concepts or encourage collaboration among peers. Because of these benefits, current educational practice suggests that teachers implement some form of technology in their classrooms, but many teachers face difficulties in doing so. Cost, access, and time often form considerable barriers to classroom implementation, but another obstacle is a lack of knowledge regarding how technology can best be used to benefit students across diverse subject matter.
Hello everyone, I am Nicole C. Barcelo, BS Ed Filipino 3A, and for the continuation to our report, I will discuss the importance of Tpack. Before I discuss the importance of Tpack, I will recall what Tpack stands for. Tpack is a technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge. Tpack is a technology integration framework that identifies three types of knowledge instructor need to combine for successful edtech integration. Why Tpack is important? Tpack is important because Tpack is an essential part of the education system today, as it incorporates the growing demand on the use of technology in the classroom, as well as continuing the focus on the content and how we teach it. Therefore, it sets up education for the future as well as setting up the students for their future. Most instructors and administrators recognize the benefits technology can have in the classroom, whether that be preparing students for a technology-driven world or helping to simplify course, school, and district management. But too many view technology as a silver bullet to the challenges they face. It's sometimes assumed, consciously or not, that the mere presence of digital tools will improve education. This is exactly why the Tpack framework is important. It's easy to think that adding a great LMS to your class strategy is going to enhance learning. But Tpack shows us that there's a relationship between technology, content, and pedagogy, and the purposeful blending of them is key. If nothing else, Tpack can be a helpful mantra urging to step back and look at your whole strategy and then nuanced connections between all of its moving parts. In a study conducted by the ICLIT, or the Australasian Society for the Computers in Learning in Tertiary Education, researchers found that the Tpack framework enhanced teacher candidates' ability to use technology in their learning and later in their professions. Impacts of Tpack on the teacher and on the students. On the teacher, it is important for the teacher to be completely up to date and knowledgeable with the curriculum and the components of Tpack to effectively incorporate it into their lessons. While in the students, students of the millennium work better through technology and quite often find the content and direct teaching quite stale. Therefore, by adding the technology component to the already existing Tpack model, that students become more engaged in their learning. How Tpack can be used in the classroom. Keeping technology as a separate knowledge set causes problems, but when we understand the framework of Tpack, we can integrate technology into the content and pedagogy of the classrooms. The integration will help our students learn more effectively. Here are the examples of using Tpack in the classroom. Your original lesson plan: imagine you are a 7th grade life science teacher. The topic is cell anatomy. Your objectives are to describe the anatomy of animal cells and explain how the organelles work as a system to carry out the necessary functions of the cell. Applying technological, pedagogical content knowledge to your lesson. As mentioned before, the Tpack framework is based on three primary forms of knowledge. So your first step should be to understand your primary forms of knowledge in the context of this lesson. Content knowledge. What are you teaching and what is your own knowledge of the subject? For this lesson, you'll need a solid understanding of cell anatomy and processes. Pedagogical knowledge. How do your students learn best and what instructional strategies do you need to meet their needs and the requirements of the lesson plan? In this case, you'll need to understand best practices for teaching middle school science and small group collaboration. Technological knowledge. What digital tools are available to you? Which do you know well enough to use and which would be most appropriate for the lesson to hand? For this lesson, students will need to label a diagram and represent so the ability to fill in blanks with an answer key, find images from the internet, create slides, etc. are important. The broad benefits of the Tpack framework. You don't have to go all in with Tpack to gain something from it, whether you apply it to every lesson or revisit it from time to time. This framework can help you think more strategically about how you're using technology in the classroom.
Good day everyone, I am Jeline Consel from BSED Filipino 3A, and for the continuation of our group discussion, I will be discussing the SAMR. So SAMR is also a way to put technology in the classroom in hopes to improve learning. It stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. SAMR is another important model in the integration of technology in instruction. It is a model designed to help educators infuse technology into teaching and learning. It is developed by Dr. Robin Pentidora. The model supports and enables teachers to design, develop, and infuse digital learning experiences that utilize technology. SAMR is a framework through which you can assess and evaluate the technology you use in your class. So I will be explaining the SAMR's four levels. First is the substitution. In a substitution level, teachers or students are only using new technology tools to replace old ones. For instance, using Google Documents to replace Microsoft Word. The task is the same but the tools are different. Second is the augmentation. Though it is different level, but we are still in the substitution mentality, but this time with added functionalities. Again, using the example of Google Documents, instead of only writing a document and having to manually save it and share it with others, Google Documents provides extra services like auto-saving, auto-syncing, and auto-sharing in the cloud. Next is modification. This is the level where technology is being used more effectively, not to do the same task using different tools but to redesign new parts of the task and transform students' learning. An example of this is using the commenting service in Google Documents, for instance, to collaborate and share feedback on a given task. Last is the redefinition. If you were to place this level in Bloom's revised taxonomy pyramid, it would probably correspond to synthesis and evaluation as being the highest order thinking skills. Redefinition means that students use technology to create imperceptibly new tasks. An example of redefinition is when students connect to a classroom across the world where they would each write a narrative of the same historical event using the chat and comment section to discuss the differences, and they use the voice comments to discuss the differences they notice and then embed this in the class website. For continuation, let's discuss Tpack and SAMR similarities and differences. The 21st century has brought us many great technological advancements. One huge thing that has changed for the better with technology is the way we educate our students. Without technology, most teachers now would struggle to get their lessons across to their students. Young people today always have their face shoved into a laptop, cell phone, gaming system, and other electronic devices. Implementing technology in the classroom allows for students to use their technological understanding to help educate them to the best of their ability. Tpack and SAMR are two methods that help us to couple technology and education together the best ways we can. Tpack and SAMR are two very similar things but also are two extremely different ideas. In this discussion, I will explain the similarities and differences. Tpack is technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge, and this is what shows teachers how to improve their teaching with implementation of technology. Technology could be the use of a smart board, iPads in the classroom, laptops, Chromebooks, cell phones, and more. Pedagogy is how you teach. Every teacher has a certain way they like to teach or how they think information is best retained, and that is their pedagogy. Content is what you're teaching, whether it's be out of the book or found online. You have to be teaching some sort content. All of those combined create Tpack, a great way to incorporate technology into learning. On the other hand, SAMR is also a way to put technology in the classroom in hopes to improve learning. Again, it stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. Substitution is putting a technological system into education that could be done equally as well as without technology. An example of this is Microsoft Word. Augmentation is still technically a substitute, but it allows for slight improvement in learning. A Google document being shared between students could be an example of this. Modification is a significant change for the better with technology. Google Documents being used to see what people change as they do it is a great example of this. Lastly is the redefinition. Redefinition is a complete change, making it a completely new task. This could be thought of as D2L, where we can see every assignment as a teacher has and also make comments on a student's posts. These two things are both ways technology is implemented in the classroom. This helps improve students' learning and should be used by more teachers everywhere.